Hello everyone and welcome back to Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing Found North. So Found North is an independent bottler and blender of Canadian whiskey. The company sources distinct barrels from Canada and blends them together to create spicy and complex ryes. So today in front of me we have a 17-year-old cask strength rye and an 18-year-old minimum cask strength rye. I'm really excited to get into these. I have seen some reviews on them, a lot of talk about Found North. Really excited to dig into these guys. So without further ado, let's go. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Batch 3. So Batch 3 is a split base of 3 17 and 18-year-old Canadian whiskeys, layered then with 21 and 25-year Canadian whiskey. This is non-chill filtered. It is distilled and aged in Canada. This one comes in at 110.2 proof. And the mash bill on this guy is 64% rye, 32% corn, and 4% malted barley. Again, really excited to get into this one, guys. Let's get into the nose. A little bit of floral present there. Definitely some rye spice kind of dominating the nose on the first go-in. Nice like lemon zest, like a lemon bread. Definitely a lot of rye spices. A lot of rye spice present on this one. Again, that like a lemon pound cake. Very, kind of citrusy as well. Nice like a vanilla bean that kind of is an undertone. It's there. It's not very dominating, but it's definitely an undertone in there. But the citrus and the rye spice is definitely dominating the nose on this one. There is a little bit of floral in there. Can't quite, pick out what exactly it is. But then there's like this brown sugared sweetness a little bit further away from the glass. A little bit when you go in a little bit further is when you pick up those citrus notes. You pick up a lot of those rye spices. But further away, it's like some brown sugar, some cinnamon. Further in, again, that vanilla bean. Surprisingly, I'm not picking up a lot of oak on this one. All right, guys, let's get into the palate. Cheers. So coming in at 110 proof, right away, I'm kind of hit with some rye spices right across the middle of the palate. A lot of sweetness on the front. Some candied sweetness. Then those rye spices kind of on the middle of the palate kind of turn into this like this fruity character where I'm picking up some apple and I'm picking up some pear. Long lingering spicy finish on this one. A little bit of that citrus starting to appear there on the sides of the palate. But one thing I noticed about this is actually a very creamy mouthfeel. Very viscous on that first sip. Really nice first sip. Let's get into the second sip, guys. Okay, so that second sip changed a little bit. Still some sweetness on the front of the palate, like some candied sweetness, maybe a little bit of that brown sugar. And then it kind of ties into some of that citrus, like some lemon that I was getting on the nose. But a little bit of floral has started to appear on the palate there, mid-palate. But then there's still that fruitiness now that's kind of worked its way back into the back of the palate. Some of those apples, maybe like an apple, green apple. And maybe like a hint of a pear, a little bit. I like the mixture of the two. A red fruit and then a pear together. It's really nice. But the creaminess, the viscosity of it is kind of really what shines through on this one. I like how the flavors continue to kind of develop throughout the palate. Long lingering finish, definitely a medium to long finish on this one. Damn good rye whiskey right here. I'm not picking up a lot of oak. Again, this one has minimum 17-year rye whiskey in it, and I'm not really picking up any oakiness from it, not even like a sweet oak. Let's get to the last sip, guys. Cheers. Yeah, so on the front of the palate there, again, changing a little bit. There's still that sweetness, some brown sugar, working into that lemon, citrus on the sides. A little bit of a floral note there, like on the front to the middle of the palate. Rye spices still in the middle, continuing to flow into that apple, the little bit of green apple, that little bit of that pear, little bit of a peppery finish there towards the back. It is a long, lingering finish, but a little bit of like some black pepper kind of appeared there into the back. But a little bit of sweetness that did shine through was actually, I got a little bit of like a corn sweetness on the front of the palate. Really, really neat though. It's, again, I got those rye spices on the middle, a little bit of the corn sweetness on the front with that brown sugar working into the citrus on the sides of the palate. I'll tell you, this is a really, really good rye whiskey here from Found North. Again, a minimum, aged 17 years. Viscosity still there. I mean, very mouth coating. Medium to long finish. I still, feel it working its way down. Really good stuff here, guys. Batch 3, Found North. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get into the batch 4. So this is actually a mix of 4 different whiskeys that are aged anywhere between 18 to 25 years. They were matured in Hungarian oak. The mash bill on this guy is 80% corn, 19% rye, and 1% malt. And this one comes in at 124.8 proof. Again, let's go ahead and get in the nose on this one. Yeah, very, very different on the nose. This one comes off like way more almost dense and creamy on the nose. Definitely picking up some sweet oak a little bit further away from the glass. When you get into the glass, you start to pick up some like some maple syrup a little bit. Some brown sugar. Almost kind of like a rum vibe a little bit. A lot of vanilla caramels on this one. Get like a little bit of a pepper note in there as well. A little bit further into the glass. Yeah, this one just smells very dense and very very creamy on the nose. Yeah, I really like that maple syrup, that brown sugar vibe that it's putting off. That like sweet oak a little bit further away from the glass. Considering it has 18, a mix of 18 to 25 year whiskey in it, I would imagine you would get a little bit more oak on this one, even though I didn't get a lot on the 17 year. Let's get into the palate, guys. Cheers. Yeah, so again, right away, very similar to the batch 3. Definitely a lot of rye spices there present on the middle of the palate. But this one, not a lot of citrus on the palate on this one, but I do get that maple syrup on the front, some like brown sugars flowing into the sides. There is definitely some pepper present on this one. Again, medium to long finish. It's still going down. This one definitely reminds me of very much of like a rum finished whiskey, or whiskey finished in rum. Very, 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 very rum forward. Those characters, the brown sugars, a lot of like maple syrup on the palate, some pepper there on the back end. Really nice first sip, guys. Let's get into the second one. Cheers. So again, there's that creaminess again from that rye. When it first went down, it almost felt like it was going to dry me out a little bit, but then it just starts to just mingle all over the tongue, the top of the palate. Very, very creamy, viscous. Still spicy with those rye spices that kind of linger into the back. Again, that brown sugar, that maple syrup still there on the front of the palate, very, very present. But now that oak starts to shine through, and it's not a sweet oak. It's definitely, those oak tannins are definitely in there, starting from the middle of the palate into the finish with that pepper. Really, really just medium to long finish. It's still going down, but that pepper is still very present there going into the back. Very mouth coating. It's still, it still feels like it's just kind of like caked onto my palate. And surprisingly enough, this one definitely doesn't drink like it's 120 proof. I think the rye spices make it feel like it's a little more spicy than it is. But 120 proof, I would never guess that this is 120 proof just by drinking it. I would say maybe around the 110 range, just like the batch 3. Damn good. Get to the last sip, guys. Cheers. Okay, so again, that last sip changed just a little bit. Still a lot of sweetness on the front. Still viscous, very creamy. That didn't change. I do pick up actually a little bit of corn sweetness on the front of the palate there with the maple syrup, the brown sugars. I couldn't taste it the first 2 sips that I took, but now I'm definitely tasting a little bit of that corn present there. Again, those oak tannins are just beautiful sitting there on the middle of the palate, kind of mingling in with that like black pepper as it goes into the finish. Viscosity, long lingering finish. Man, I tell you, what they're doing, over there at Found North is all but amazing. I mean, I think the way that they're blending these, they're doing it very well. Again, they're very mouth coating, very viscous ryes, long lingering finish. You get a little bit of pepper on both of them. Again, the sweetness on the front of the palate on both of these was fantastic. Really, really good stuff here, guys, from Found North Batch 4. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. I want to send a big thank you over to the team at Found North for supplying me with these samples to review on the channel. Fantastic job, guys, over there with getting those higher age stated rye whiskeys, blending them together, and coming out with 2 amazing batches, Batch 3, Batch 4. Again, both just very mouth coating, very viscous. The spiciness from the rye that's in there, the sweetness on the front of the palate, the long lingering finish. Outstanding rye whiskeys here from Found North. So again, big shout out to the team over there, and thank you again for supplying me with these samples to review on the channel. So guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. And until next time, guys, stay dusty.